My guest today is Sundance Robson. I don't know what to say about you, my friend. Like, you defy most explanations that I could attribute to most people. Like, from the time I've met you, you're a magical creature, not just in what you do, who you are, how you sound. And if no one's ever heard you make your sound, they should listen to that. And I'll link that in one of the videos below. But it is such a joy to have you with me this afternoon. So thank you for being here.
Oh yeah, man, it's such a pleasure. I always felt an instant connection to you, Dave. The moment that you popped up on AJC and meeting you in person, it was very natural. And I just love your willingness to be able to speak into the room. That's, I think we're just starting right into this. That's one of the powerful things about being in person at the AJC is what happens inside that room
Yeah,
when we speak into that room, you know?
that's so true. That's so true. Oh, brilliant. Right. You're going to produce gold for these. I know it. So your biggest shift for you personally from doing the AJC?
Um, so yeah, I thought about this and I didn't need to think about it long. It's, it's, it's the shift of who I show up as in my authenticity. There was why I came to AJC, and that was sort of, I mean, that was sitting on the surface when I enrolled. But then there was the 6 month duration
Yeah.
of really who I became in that process of traveling from the middle of Canada to the UK 3 times in 6 months for these weekends. And that making that decision to do that really put me in the place to want to get answers for myself.
Wow.
And that was access to my authenticity, right? I I looked at coaching more from the surface before, you know, especially systems and what makes a coaching business run. I didn't realize how authentic I could be in setting up my own system, right?
Wow.
And that was one of the real key pieces, right? It was like I looked at it kind of like software. It's like you go and you get something installed, right? And so I'm going to go get a better understanding and install a system, right? Well, that on the outset was what I thought I would be doing, but it was actually who I became. And in seeing these different examples of so many different systems because of how many colleagues we have, it was like I accessed a permission that I didn't know I had to create my own system.
Wow.
And and that was a real direct line to my authenticity. And then it just exploded from there because I was able to use that directly in line with my business. And I think that's the next question.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, I was going to say you've segued beautifully into it. Yeah, keep going.
Um, so my coaching business, I do one-to-one coaching, I do group coaching, and I also do an event called White Feather.
Mm.
And it's an experience. And I've mainly been utilizing this um, through the government of Canada and um, addressing some key factors that are coming up in culture in Canada with marginalized people and Indigenous people, and helping create cross-cultural communication so people can understand each other. And this is my authenticity. I really thought again, coming into the coaching world, that this is what I do. I'm on the screen all the time,
Mm.
and this is where I need to be all of the time, and that's what coaching is. And what I saw was that was a belief.
Mm.
And through the experience of, again, coming there 3 times over 6 months, it really helped me reach deep into the bag, you know, and say like, what is it that I really am wanting to create here? Pardon me. And what I saw as an ongoing theme that kept coming up over and over again was this event called White Feather. And that came directly out of my authenticity. And there's not a lot of me trying to be someone or trying to do a certain thing that isn't authentic about that whole experience. You know, it requires work. And the work comes directly from my authenticity. So there's this deep love that comes from that work. And just like my authenticity and showing up who I was, for my business, it did the exact same thing. That authenticity, it just went right across or
Mm.
right into my business world, and also was like, be authentic here too, you know. And that's always been a real um, challenging thing for me. I've I've had this tendency in the past, as I was growing, to keep things separate and not like amalgamate or like make a conglomeration of what it is that I do and who it is that I am, and be able to put that out into the world. And this was something that came by trusting the process and testing the process, you know. And it's built the muscle, it's worked the muscle, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And um, to a place of where it seems like it's unconscious competence. And here's the other piece of it too. There's just so much, Dave. I could go on for 2.5 hours. This would probably just be a 24-hour live stream.
It's all good.
Um,
I could comfortably sit here and listen. Believe me, I have my
yeah,
tea.
yeah.
It's all good.
I'm not going to ask if I'm talking too much then. Um, the uh, the real piece of it is, again, I've always wanted to be able to access my authenticity, and I've
Mm.
wanted to create something that I didn't feel like I was being different people in these different settings,
Wow.
right? Like I need to now put my coach hat on. I need to now put my performer hat on, right? I can make this all one experience.
Wow.
And for me, that's huge because
Yeah.
you know what, that also gives that for me also gives light to, I was hiding parts of myself in sessions with people,
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
right? And
totally.
that got exposed,
Yeah.
but in a
So
loving
so
way.
many people will resonate with this. Like it's I knew this series would be amazing because obviously I know all of you guys, and it just felt like the right time to bring these things out. But that you're sharing there, how previously you would have hidden aspects of yourself because that didn't fit with the imagery of Sundance the coach. All of that gets to dissolve, and you become all that you are all of the time, which is what everyone's looking for anyway, really.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
amazing. I love
yeah.
it.
I mean, there's subtle shifts in my being depending on the environment, but
Yeah, sure.
the context doesn't change. Like
Yeah,
I get to be
yeah,
Sundance everywhere I go, and
yeah,
if that's not in alignment, then that's totally cool, you
yeah.
know. And that's the other thing about that, right? It's like I'm like I've done online programs, you know, and I think that was a piece to me that I also wanted to have a greater understanding. One was like, if I'm talking to someone and they're a potential client and it's not in alignment, there was still always this thing about like, oh well, maybe there's something more I can do to make them my client, right? And no, I really want to get this enrollment.
Yeah,
And when it's not in alignment, I'm totally cool with that. And we can still have a relationship moving forward. It just
yeah,
doesn't need to be a coaching relationship. And this is the real piece of it, the kind of the bundle, is the power of enrollment.
yeah,
Man, that is such a, that for me is such a win, is getting a getting from a deeper understanding the power of enrollment. I noticed that with every coach that spoke in AJC, and I noticed that with Ann Cush. And maybe it was just my own experience, but what I saw was when everybody spoke, they had this natural gift and this their own natural beauty of enrolling.
yeah,
And I was I really saw that for myself, was like, this is what it sounds like to you to listen to them.
yeah.
Don't doubt that in yourself, Sundance.
Wow.
You know, speak what you speak and speak it. That is the power of enrollment. It doesn't, it takes all of the sales part out of it. And I see this to a different degree now about how it's not about being salesy, it's about service. And I see that that service model of where we spend time in session serving, and we also spend time enrolling, and they overlap within each other, right? Like it's all really the same, and that rises up out of our being as this pure authenticity. And for me, it felt impossible. Mainly, that was something that I perceived as being impossible, to be a professional coach that's well paid.
Mm.
Again, like enrolling into the school, I thought, what will honestly be different in 6 months? What else could I have possibly know? Well, it wasn't like this real thinking, knowing thing. It was more as a being under way of understanding, and a way of moving through life as a
Wow.
lifestyle that
Wow.
I see is showing up everywhere, right? Because for me, the commitment that I made before I went to the school is that I'm going to see it in my home first, and then I'm going to see it in my professional business life.
Wow. You're right. Maybe we could comfortably keep this going all day. But I want to ask the final question. I'm going to have to listen back to that several times because I just got lost in it. So if you were to offer one sort of piece of guidance to people, doing any course or anything really, but particularly the AJC this time round, what would that be? What's
Show
your
up,
top tip?
show up empty.
Wow.
I would say that 3 times: show up empty, show up empty, show up empty. Um, that increases my possibilities for receptivity and my ability to listen. That's another real key piece. I I see something consistent in the coaching world, and it seems that some of the highest paid coaches are the best listeners.
Mm,
There's a deep place that they're listening from. It might be the heart, it might be the soul, it might be many different places. I'm not too sure. It's their own experience. But I keyed into that. I could see that there's coaches that are really listening. and they're hearing what you're saying. And you can tell that they hear what you're saying when they say it back to you, or when they ask you a question that expands that state of being.
Mm.
And when I see that in other coaches, that's something that I really want. And when I ask myself, well, if that's something that I want, what do I need to do? Like, who do I need to be a better listener? Well, I need to be a better listener. What would be something that would be in the way of that? Well, I might be closed off to that. Okay, well, I need to forgive myself for judging myself as being closed off to that, because who I'm actually am is someone that's open and ready to receive. And I'll listen and I'll be able to receive. And through that receptivity, I'm going to gain a greater access. And for me, that's a powerful way to show up as a student.
Beautiful. Sundance, thank you. It's amazing.
Such a pleasure, Dave. I'm so glad that you're doing these. And man, if I can say anything to you, I think this is authentically Dave Carey.
Thank you. Thank you.